and welcome to Popcorn and Joysticks, our regular podcast where we talk about games, movies, and TV. My name is Theo Litston. I'm joined today by James Barber.
That's me. Hello.
And Hollie Hayton.
That's me.
So we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about Amy Hennig's return to Star Wars, making Star Wars games. We're going to be talking about Sonic Origins and obviously all the things that we've played and watched over the last week or so. But first, we've actually been somewhere.
We went out.
We left the studio because we
We
normally
went
just
out.
live in this space.
Yeah, we camp here. We stay here all the time.
But yeah, we were actually allowed to go out for once, weren't we?
We actually had a very nice Easter weekend because last weekend
Birmingham.
was Easter. Yes, we went all the way to Birmingham to the NEC because, what was it, Hollie?
It was Insomnia, I68.
I-68?
68, yes.
Yes. Looking forward to next year's.
Later this year.
August.
Oh!
August is
You can expect a 69 in August.
all of the memes are going to happen for that
I
one.
was thinking my joke was going to fall flat there, but no, you brought it back round. Thank you very much. But anyway, back to Monday. We actually went on the fourth day. So it was slightly quieter than what
Hangover
we were probably
vibes from
expecting.
all of the staff.
Slightly hangover vibes because it was Bank Holiday Monday.
Yeah.
And if you're watching from a different country, you don't know what Bank Holiday means. It's a public holiday on Monday. So yeah, we basically took a road trip, a 2.5 hour drive all the way up to Birmingham.
Yes.
And we had a great time.
Yeah,
Well, I thoroughly
nice.
enjoyed myself, speaking for you two there.
I think we've decided that you can speak for us now.
Okay.
You carry on.
If you two can just be quiet from now on, this is going to be turned
James's
into my
podcast.
podcast now.
Welcome to the James Barber podcast. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I think not being able to go to stuff like that for a long time because of coronavirus has, it's maybe changed it slightly for me. Maybe changed my perception of like, oh, I've actually had a really, really good time. Maybe if it was in a normal year, perhaps maybe not as much. But generally, I thought, Insomnia was great fun. And I'd encourage everybody to go and check out your local gaming festival, basically.
I think that's half the thing was we knew that this one was going to be slightly smaller, slightly less busy, less big companies and big brands and big gaming news and things going to be there because it's post-COVID now. But we have been going to EGX, Insomnia, Gamescom, Comic-Con, like for years and years. Like, we love a good convention. That knowing that this one was going to be smaller and quieter, we still wanted to go to give the support
to show our
games.
support to everyone the amount of work that goes into putting these shows on. And I mean, you say about like the big brands and stuff, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, loads of stuff on PC, indie stuff, they're all still there, just in a slightly, like this
Much
one.
smaller,
But also we were, like you say, we were saying it on Hangover Monday, sort of
Yeah.
thing, Recovery Monday.
Yeah.
So it was maybe slightly smaller, and the games on offer from like Nintendo, Sony, and PlayStation were maybe not what you'd have expected. But actually it was still really nice to see that there was some support there.
I think it was just nice to go to a convention again.
Just be around like-minded people, just having fun, like letting your hair down.
I was just going to say the
definitely.
same, like just to be around people again, because obviously the last 2 years has been weird. We don't want to dive too deeply into how crap the last 2 years have been. So now that, things are opening up more so here in England and we can actually do these things again, to go and give our support and to go and just have a good time. Like we spent a good few hours there. We went on as many games as we possibly could. Yes, they might not be the newest newest games coming out or whatever. They might have been out for a little while, but things that we've not played before, to actually have that opportunity. And then also there's lots of other fun things there as well. It's not just about console gaming or PC gaming. We had some fun.
You spent a lot of time on air hockey.
we played. It was Sonic air hockey.
Sonic air hockey, which actually our local bowling alley has exactly the same table.
That's it.
But it genuinely does.
I didn't know that.
But it's in an environment where I think if you're uncertain or if you don't feel very confident about going to something like a gaming festival, it's like you have no need to worry because it is just full of really lovely people.
It's full of big kids.
It's just full of big kids. And what I found most impressive was something like the air hockey there's no like organized like queue system or anything like that.
Yeah.
And everyone's just going up and like playing a game and then going, oh, after you, like you've been here for a bit, like, do you want to play like next? And it was just actually really nice. And then it was just a really friendly atmosphere. But like you said, it wasn't just video games. It was, you know, there was pinball there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're into the army was there.
Yeah.
There was F1, there was shops, lots of shopping.
Yeah, the shops were good.
I know the shopping usually takes your eye as well when we go
Yeah,
to any
and the
conventions.
tabletop game. I spent probably my most time staring at the board games, to be honest.
We do like a good board game.
I did resist, but I was walking around there for quite a bit.
Maybe that's something we should actually ask the audience and people who are watching now. Like, we love a good board game. Technically, that's gaming.
Shall we live stream a board game?
Should that be something what we venture into one day?
I
Just
think
put
so,
out like a board game video. I mean, we've got some cracking board games.
We have. We've got a good collection.
There's a big collection of board games
I
downstairs.
mean, you've just got a brand new board game yourself.
Yeah.
I've got a video game based board game as well, which is
the best kind.
The best kind of board. We've just managed to acquire the Stardew Valley board game, which I mean, I love Stardew. My partner loves Stardew. So we will play that from now until the end of time, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, let us know in the comments if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing on the channel. And I'm sure we would be able to come up with some fun way
I'm
of showing
keen.
them
Whether
off.
anyone else is or not, I'm keen.
Oh, we'll
for
just do
this.
it regardless.
Yeah.
I think we could be like can make it a really fun kind of creative video of like multiple cameras. You can see like what hand each person has. Like you could really like play around
Get
with.
carried away with it.
We need to get like one of those glass tables like they have
Like
when they're doing the
poker.
poker.
Yeah.
We actually do have a glass
We
table.
do have a glass table.
We do have a glass table downstairs.
There you go. But anyway, so yeah,
Back to
we saw
Insomnia.
back to Insomnia.
Yeah.
We saw lots of board games.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with some of the retro stuff that was on offer there. Because
Yes.
I'm a big retro fan, so I love seeing all the old arcade units, like the proper like stand up like machines, which I really enjoy seeing. But also, I almost bought Metal Gear for MSX, and then I was like, I have to rein it in because
it's easy to get
you
carried
see
away
the prices
there.
of those things, and I'm like, oh, I also have to pay the mortgage this month.
Yeah. I'd say the only thing I was probably a little disappointed in was the amount of indie games. I would have liked that to be about 4 times the size.
Yes.
I think that would be my main criticism, was there wasn't enough there.
Yeah, the layout of the indie section just felt a little bit kind of small and cramped.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, the actual gaming festival is quite small, but there was still quite a lot of space there.
Yeah.
These big convention halls are quite big.
Yes.
But it did feel like that the indie section was a very small section. They did cram in quite
There was
a few.
but I think
like-
because we went to EGX last year and their indie section I thought was amazing. They had so much variety.
it felt more welcoming at EGX because of the layout that you didn't have to go into anything. I felt like with this Insomnia one, you almost had to go. You saw like the ones on the outside, but there was almost like a square, like a little square on the inside, and there was, I don't know, it just didn't feel that sort of.
It was almost like an afterthought, like, oh no, we
Yeah.
forgot to put this in, sort of thing.
Yeah, so we put as many in as we can in a very tight space, where EGX, which we did do last year as well, again, kind of in the middle of COVID, that one was, did feel more kind of spacious, and you could see it from afar, and you could see all of the games without having to like...
Be next
Peer
to it.
over somebody's shoulder sort of thing. Yeah.
And there was a lot more cat-based games at EGX. I do like a cat game, I have to say. No cat games at Insomnia. Very sad.
Cat games get an automatic like 8 out of 10 or above.
Exactly, yeah.
With
Put a cat in it and I'm there.
I think that's the thing though, going to conventions like this and then seeing other people playing indie games intrigues you a little bit. Like we were saying that EGX probably had a better indie section. Like you're saying, there's lots of cat games.
Yeah.
I mean, we even played You Suck at Parking at EGX last year.
I really do.
Which was amazing. And you actually do suck at parking. Do you even drive?
No, badly. I suck.
And then we also played other cool ones, like there was a Morse code game which
really
we played
liked that, yeah.
at EGX last year, but none of them were at Insomnia this year. And obviously being this kind of much further away from the kind of the COVID, we're not in the middle of COVID and stuff. And yes, we are still in the middle of COVID, but not as much as...
Our rules have relaxed. We are allowed to do things.
There almost seem to be more indie games and indie sections at one a year ago than there were this year. So it would have been nice if there was more to kind of dabble in.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll all come back in August. Like maybe this was just a bit of a test run, so hopefully now it all went fine. August hopefully will be a bit bigger again. Yeah.
Do you think that these gaming festivals will get back to what they were pre-COVID?
I think so. They might have a bit more on keep the hand sanitizer. I quite like that fact that we can the emphasis on can you use your hand sanitizer before you go and touch every single game in this place.
Yeah, because there's a lot of germs going around at conventions. Everyone knows the con flu.
That was a thing, and it will be nice. I know you're never going to eradicate it, but it would be nice if the etiquette was a little bit more after you've played a game, just a little bit of hand san. I think that will stay. Hopefully,
cleanliness etiquette is
But I don't
thing we should all be.
I don't see why.
Not just for cons. Let's not.
Let's just
wash your hands
in general. Let's just stay clean.
But I don't see why it shouldn't. If you see what I mean, there's a lot of space in the NEC. If you want to space things out, it's quite easy to space out. It's not like they're cramming it into one little tiny place. So I think so. Yeah.
I really do hope so, because obviously, again, a good few years ago, we also went to Germany, went to Gamescom, which is a massive, one of the biggest gaming festivals in the world.
So we went to the last one before COVID.
Before COVID, it was just before lockdown and everything. And that was obviously huge and massive and kind of overwhelming in a way, because of how big and how busy and how much stuff there was there, that a day wasn't enough. If you wanted to queue up like we did, we queued up for, I don't know, a couple hours this was pre-Cyberpunk. So we went in, and it's kind of like a pre-built kind of cinema. We went in to see Cyberpunk, and obviously Final Fantasy remake and stuff was there. But those things were like a hall each. They were massive. And obviously they've been downscaled so much now that there's only a few consoles playing a few games at these
it would be interesting to see. I don't know if we'll get to go, but if we did manage to go to Gamescom, I think that will be interesting to see, because it's so massive. How much have they scaled it down?
To see how much that's changed, because Gamescom obviously coming back this year. It will be interesting to see if they're in the same location as well.
Yeah, they are. They're in the same location, and they're saying it's going ahead in person and I think some digital. I did look into going.
We have been looking at possibly going, but it's still that kind of this weird time of uncertainty. Do you book your hotel? Do you book flights? If it does get cancelled, if COVID ramps up again and they cancel the show, do you get your money back from the flights?
I think it will all be covered, but it's a lot of effort. It's not that much effort for us to go to Birmingham, and then you get there and you go, okay, that was a little smaller than expected, but I had a great time. If you go to Germany with the let's go to Gamescom for 5 days, and it's smaller than you expected, Cologne is a great place. I'm sure we could fill 5 days, but it's just a bit different. So I don't know if we will go this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah.
But watch this space, I think. But before we move on from Insomnia, can you each give me an idea of what your favourite thing that you saw or experienced at Insomnia this year was? Have you got
Good
one
question.
or two? So for me, I really enjoyed, it was one of the first things we saw as we went in. So the donuts are definitely up there. So
yes, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Theo bought me an incredibly sugary donut.
It was like a
set me jittering the whole day.
It was like a baseball. It was so big and round. Those donuts were insane. Donuts were definitely up there. Also, thinking of big and insane, the first thing that we saw when we came in was that screen for Street Fighter V. Again, we were saying it wasn't necessarily new games, but being able to play Street Fighter V on a 10-foot LED lit screen
while she was stood a foot away from it as well.
That was quite incredible to see Vega and Guile in
life size.
So that was really cool. But what about you, Hollie? Did you have something that you really jumped out at you?
Nothing really that stood out was that was the pinnacle moment. I think it's just the whole vibe of just being somewhere that isn't our house.
The Counter-Strike Go semi-final.
Well, to be fair, I do like watching a competitive a gaming thing, because I am not competitive in the slightest, so I find it quite entertaining watching people be competitive, because I'm not.
There was a lot of hooping and wallering.
There was a lot of whooping.
But also seeing people just be really sweet. We saw a 5-year-old superstar on...
I was just going to say Just Dance.
Just Dance.
Doing Don't Stop Me Now on stage. Blew my mind.
Got the crowd going, everyone was clapping along.
And I think that's the thing, it's just everyone's on the same page, everyone's having a good time. Everyone's glad to be back. Everyone's making the most of it. And I think that's just what I like.
Yeah.
And that you get to play Oh, pinball. I love pinball.
We get to play video games. Yeah. One game we got to play actually was a new release. We got to play Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. What did you think of our... We only had a 10-15 minute go on
it wasn't long enough, to be honest, because when we went on it, we all had a console each and a screen each. Didn't realise that
the demo
each one
was
set up to be co-op, each one. So we spent a good few minutes basically trying to log out a different controller and go back to single player.
Which I think we probably wound them up because they were set up to have people play
but
split screen.
They didn't tell us that. They just said, they're down there and there's 3 of us, so how can 3 of us play on co-op?
It was Hangover Monday. They weren't really quite on it.
So in the end, we basically scooched over and went onto one console.
We cuddled up, played on one console.
Played on one console. I enjoyed it. Yeah. I would like to have had a little bit more time with it to get my head around the kind of the controls of what we're actually doing, because you were basically just dumped in the middle of a battle.
We were mid-mission.
Mid-mission, so I was kind of like, I don't really know what to do. I personally haven't really played any Lego games before, Lego Star Wars games before.
You've played any Lego games?
I played a few
with actual Lego, like real... physical Lego.
Like just pew pew. No, I have played
plastic blocks from the Netherlands.
I've played some previous Star Wars Lego games, but not a whole game. Maybe like an hour here and an hour there. But that was years and years ago. So yeah, not even knowing that you could kind of morph into the other.
Oh, like switching characters.
I didn't really know you could do that, and then it was like knowing which character did each thing. So, I need to be R2-D2, get an R2-D2, drive him over and do whatever you got to do with R2-D2 and switch back or whatever. I thought it was good. There wasn't headphones, which slightly disappointed me. The sound. Because you're in a convention centre, there's a lot of noises.
All you could hear was Just Dance.
Playing Don't Stop Me Now. Whilst I'm trying to do a very serious battle, getting Chewie all of the parts.
I mean, you say it was very serious. It's got that Lego charm to it, doesn't it?
Course,
you'd shoot a stormtrooper, and his helmet would spin off.
Yeah.
Or you'd shoot him in his knee, and he'd hold his knee ooh, sort of thing, which I really liked.
No, I thought it was good, and I would like to play more of it.
Yeah, me too.
I'd love Star Wars, hence if you're watching the video right now, you can
see some props.
You can see we have a lot of Star Wars props. Well, what about you?
I really enjoyed it. I am a Lego game fan.
I am a Lego.
I'm a Lego game fan. I've played the previous original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. So basically the first 2 Lego Star Wars games. I've played those to the nth degree, and I've played the most recent Marvel Lego games as well. I've not really steered outside because it's great because those Lego games offer opportunities for people who are a fan of franchises. So you get Harry Potter, you get Marvel, you get Star Wars, you get Lord of the Rings, all these other big franchises. But for me, I love Star Wars and Marvel, so those are the ones I've played. So it felt second nature coming back in and playing these. The controls, although tighter, they're familiar. So the buttons were still kind of the same.
Yeah.
I really like the addition of things in the old games, it was basically hammer the attack button to win. Yeah. And there's never any real punishment for failing. So they're very accessible, certainly to a younger audience. But I really like the fact that there's now a proper third person over the shoulder camera angle when you're firing blasters. You can take cover a la Gears of War or Uncharted, these sorts of things. Like you, I just want to play a bit more, and I love the humor that's in them, because I think properties like Star Wars, they've got this grand sort of mythos and lore around them. It's really nice to see people having a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take itself very seriously.
And this is the Skywalker Saga.
So it's all 9 films.
Yeah, so
it's pretty crazy.
It's a lot of... I understand it's a lot of content.
Yeah.
Neither of us have played the full game. I've only just played that one demo at Insomnia. Are you the same?
Yeah, that's all I've played. But I've seen a bit more through other works.
Is it Do you know if you go through kind of chronological of Star Wars?
You can choose the first. So the way that it's set up, it's basically you choose the first film from each of the trilogies. So you could start at episode 1 and play through the prequel trilogy, or you could start at episode 4 and play through the original trilogy, or you could start at
7,
Force Awakens and start at 7 and then 7, 8, 9. What lunatic is doing that?
I was just going to say, that brings a whole new level.
Like, I'm just going to read the last book of Lord of the Rings first. Okay, you do you. But no, it's
okay, what would you do then?
Well, me being me and being the age that I am,
Are you going to be one of these purists at Star 4?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But that being said...
What maniac would start in the middle?
George Lucas.
Absolute maniac.
Do it how Lucas, our Lord and Saviour, envisioned. No, I don't know. I might actually be tempted to start at 1 and just play them all through because, you know, it's always good to practice your counting.
And hopefully, if you do start at 1, that you can be Jar Jar Binks throughout all 9.
Exactly. That was what I was thinking. I want to be Jar Jar Binks versus Snoke. That's what
just with his licky tongue, just licking him.
Somehow Jar Jar returned. And it's just me. That'd be great. Yeah. But for fans of Star Wars, as we all are, we've had some really good news this week, and that is that Amy Hennig is back working on Star Wars. So for those people that don't know, Amy Hennig is sort of very well-renowned game designer, writer, artist, one of the key creative...
What would people know her from?
So she's done a lot of work with Naughty Dog in the past, and prior to that, Crystal Dynamics.
Okay.
So, we're talking sort of like early to mid, like PlayStation 1, and then some of the biggest blockbusters that you would have seen on PS2, like the Uncharted series and stuff like that.
Nice.
So, basically... Amy seems to have had a bit of a rough run from the outside. That's how we look at it. And that she was working on a Star Wars ragtag game that was over at EA, and then that got cancelled. And of course, these things, they take a lot of time and money and energy to create. So I don't think she's actually shipped a game for a long time. She's been back and forth with different studios working on different things. But this week, Lucasfilm Games and Skydance Media, which is Skydance New Media, which is where Amy is working at now, they've announced that they're working on a narrative-driven Star Wars game. And it's going to be an original game set in the Star Wars galaxy.
Amazing.
Nice.
So, I mean...
Promising, then.
It sounds really promising, but what do we want to see from a narrative-driven...
Jar Jar Binks.
Versus Snoke.
We've already answered this question.
You ask a stupid question, but you can have that game in Lego form, but now we want it in really like we're going to be looking at probably a AAA blockbuster style game.
Yes.
I don't even know where,
not Tatooine.
Okay, so not Tatooine,
yeah.
but do you know what I'd really like to see? A non-human character, either plays a droid or plays an alien. Like the Star Wars galaxy is so rich, and it's like when we had Jedi Fallen Order from EA, we're just playing as some white guy. The galaxy's a bit more diverse than that. I'd love to be a BB-8. You know,
would you roll around the place, or if you kind of different levels, of different aliens, different worlds. So you get to be a droid on one, and then team up with someone else.
Or maybe with something like the success of Mandalorian, maybe we take on something like that.
Yeah.
Although the exact quote was, it will be a narrative-driven action game featuring an original story. So it's probably not going to have anyone.
Do you think it would be as successful if you're not playing as a Jedi?
I think if you put Star Wars on the box, it will sell.
Even if you don't wield a lightsaber?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
I think so, yeah. Because we've seen it in the past with stuff like Dark Forces, where I think you might still have some force powers, but there's no, it's a first-person shooter.
It's a very good point, though, because some of, the best sort of characters or some of the most memorable characters in Star Wars are droids as well. And I know that's, especially the newer ones, is more kind of Disney input on that. Some of the droids in it are hilarious and, they're not main parts or something, but they're done so well in Star Wars. I don't know if there's a different franchise who does kind of robotic droids as well as the Star Wars universe does. Would that be as fun as playing as a droid as, backflipping around with a lightsaber. Personally, I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those things where you could be a droid that is customizable. That would be quite cool.
Can a droid have a lightsaber?
Well, like if you,
I mean, General Grievous, he's organic droid.
I was going to say, because there could be that kind of option that it's a combination of humanoid droid together, because obviously in Boba Fett there was a kind of emphasis on the modders,
yes,
the people modding themselves.
So we're now bringing like cyberpunk into
so
this.
It's kind of yes, it kind of is a little bit cyberpunk, but I think that could be kind of a cool angle, because there's a really good like game mechanic then of updating yourself.
Cyberpunk with Jedis.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Starring Keanu Reeves.
Yes, please.
If Keanu's not in it, I'm not playing it.
I think the great thing from this is to see that Amy Hennig is working on it and attached. So I think we're probably, if it all happens and it finally gets launched, then I think we're hopefully going to be in for a really good story.
Yes.
On PlayStation 7 or 8, do you reckon?
I don't know. It depends. Maybe this could be a Unreal game. Perhaps, if they're not using their own engine, if they're using something that's off the shelf, then obviously that speeds up the time, it makes things a lot easier for them.
It's going to be still a couple of years.
I think we're still not going to be, don't expect a trailer at E3 sort of thing. I don't think
maybe end of next year or something, possibly. But
maybe we'll get a tease. It's got to be better than the Jedi Fallen Order reveal, though, isn't it? Where it was just like Zambella just sat in the E3 audience, just going, "Yep, we're making a Star Wars."
I was going to say I don't even remember it. That shows how memorable it is. I don't even remember it being
because
announced.
It was a dude just saying, "Yeah, we're making one." No trailer, no title treatment, nothing.
Memorable.
But memorable. I mean, I remembered it, but
I didn't.
There we go.
Massive nerd. Something else that people might remember is Syphon Filter. So today we've seen that there's a leak from the Korean ratings board, who do tend to leak games more often than not. It's unbelievable exactly how many times we find out about a new game from the Korean ratings board. But they've rated Syphon Filter 1, 2, Dark Mirror and Logan's Shadow for PS4 and PS5. And that might sound a bit odd because these are really old games.
Yeah.
But because they're rated for PS4 and PS5, these could be the first PlayStation Plus retro games that have kind of leaked that we may be seeing when the service sort of has a refresh in the summertime. So I don't think any of us have had any real experience with Syphon Filter. I'm very much a Metal Gear guy anyway, so I don't touch other stealth games. If I can't hide in a box, then and it has to have like anime people on it, then I'm not interested.
I mean, we did touch upon this just before we went live on the podcast, that you got the game confused with another game as well.
Yes, yeah.
You actually had played it and you hadn't.
I thought I played Syphon Filter at yours when we were like 10.
Turns out it was Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell.
Almost, there's like two words, Splinter Cell, Syphon Filter.
Yeah, basically you get Metal Gear, everything else,
Everyone just loved it together.
Yeah, everything else is just like Metal Gear's at the top and then everything else is kind of down there. But it got me thinking.
Like up on a pedestal.
If you could pick one game, if each of you can pick a game, which retro game from PlayStation's back catalogue would you like to see on the new PlayStation
Solely
Plus?
PlayStation or cross-platform?
It could, provided it was released on the PS1 or PS2 or PS3, I suppose, or PSP, because those are the ones that we're going on. Well, I don't know if they're going to be remastered. I think they're going to be the original versions. Okay. They've not said explicitly what. Sony haven't said explicitly what they're going to be doing with these, but it sounds to me like it's going to be just a way of playing these rather than them having any sort of TLC given to
we
them.
can go back to like my sort of childhood and Tokka touring cars.
Okay, that's cool.
Because I want to be a tank.
That's perfect.
There was a
So you went with
Tokka to be a tank, and you could basically blow every other car off the track and it would spin off the track and you could win.
Oh, amazing.
As a tank, but you went about 3 miles an hour and everyone else went about 150.
But you had a
cannon. You could blow them up.
But I had a cannon, so joke's on them.
Yeah.
Because I would just turn around and wait for them to come back towards me. And it was like an actual patunk.
Oh, nice.
Patunk.
Like a grenade launcher. That patunk noise is really good. And what about you?
Oh man, there's so many. There is... I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for it to happen with the whole PS Plus thing or whatever it is Crisis Core. Because they haven't done it. It's only on the PSP and everyone has been in the Final Fantasy community has just been like, where the hell is it? We want to play it. For those that missed the PSP boat, haven't played it. So the only way to kind of play it is like a emulator or something. And I think people are losing their minds if that managed to get a remaster or even brought to the
even if it just comes in its like its form as it stands now, even if it's just available to be purchased and played on
so I think a lot
TV.
of people I see online would like that, and I would like that also, although I do have a PSP and it is currently sat on the shelf up there, so I can technically go and play it. But other games, there was a game on the PS1 I used to love called Legends of Legaia.
Oh yeah, literally. I didn't even notice that Crisis Core is... Can the camera pick that up?
I don't think so, but it is one on that shelf, So I can play that whenever I like. But yeah, Legend of Legaia was an amazing PS1 game. I can't really remember it in great detail, but I just remember when I first played it.
RPG?
But it had a very different battle system. You had to like, you kind of did commands on like left, right, up, down. And when you got like a correct combo, it was like, oh, you've learned a new combo and this does extra damage. And it was just really interesting. And that's about all I can remember. It would either be that or Vagrant Story. They both deserve remakes or remasters.
RPG stuff.
I like
they
how
need to
you're
bring
really,
it back.
You're really diving into like the serious answer here. And I'm just going to be a tank and talk and talk.
I'm going to go somewhere in the middle where I want something that is a gritty war game, but also it's Hogs of War.
Oh.
Yes, Hogs of War.
We actually do have all of these games.
We do. We do. We do have Hogs of War somewhere.
Hogs of War is incredible. It is. If you're unfamiliar with Hogs of War, it's basically a 3D version of Worms, where the worms were World War II pigs.
Yeah.
And all
there's lots of bacon references.
There's
and
loads of bacon puns and stuff. But the main selling point for me is that all of the characters were voiced by the late, great Rick Mail. And if that comes to PS Plus, I will be like you said, we have it. You can go and play it whenever we want. But I just want to play it on my PS5.
Yeah.
DualSense controller, that later.
Yes. So from one series of retro games to another, Sonic Origins has finally received a new trailer. And a release date. So Sonic Origins is the collection of 4 games that were announced last year. The collection was announced last year. These 4 games were announced last year for Sonic's 30th anniversary. And those 4 games are the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic CD, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is appearing in a collection for the first time in ages, and Sonic 2. I've gone 1 CD, 3, 2. I can count.
Middle. Chuck some others around it.
I feel like, like I always leave my Yorkshire pudding to the end because it's my favourite bit, right? So Sonic 2 is probably my favourite. So I think that's what happened there. Not that I genuinely can't count the 3. I think it's because I went 1 CD 3. Don't know how I did that. Anyway,
we just got an insight into how Theo's brain works.
So if you see something left on my plate, it's not because I don't like it. It's because that's my favourite.
I do want a Yorkshire pudding.
People from other countries were like, "What the heck is a Yorkshire pudding?"
It's
look it up.
The best food.
But so that is now coming out on June the 23rd. That's going to be on everything. It's going to be a PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC, you name it. If it runs games, then it does that. But
there's a big but.
There is a big but here. Well, I'm going to start with a real positive. Okay. The real positive and the reason why people might be interested in playing these games is that they are the anniversary edition, which is a brand new edition for 2022. And they are going to be in 16:9 resolution for the first time. Aspect ratio for the very first time. And it's going to be the very first time that we actually get to play commercially Christian Whitehead and Headcanon's version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So there's always been a lot of difficulty with porting Sonic 3 to things because of Michael Jackson. And it was exactly those sorts of noises which meant that we couldn't have Sonic 3 on anything. Yeah, so basically Michael Jackson did a lot of music work for Sonic 3 for the original release. Then there's all this business with the estate, with Michael Jackson's estate, and obviously since he's passed away, then it's really difficult to resolve these issues. So the music licensing around it has always been really difficult. This is the first time we're getting Sonic 3, and to get Sonic 3 and Knuckles is fantastic because that is the best way to play that game. Because originally Sonic 3 came out and it was cut in half. Well, not even in half, but it was rushed out to coincide with the McDonald's promotion. And then Sonic and Knuckles came along and you had to bolt it in to get the full game. We're getting it all in one package now.
Okay.
That's the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Along with other extras like new animations and unlockable content, all these sorts of things. Really, really cool. The bad stuff, however, is that Sega have also revealed that there is DLC packs for these 31-year-old games. And there's no way to actually buy all of it at once. Like, you get your standard edition, which is kind of like the main game and like a couple of bonus coins or something like that if you pre-order, all the way up to like a digital deluxe. And in between, there's these different DLC packs that include additional modes, additional like challenges, additional unlockables, even down to menu animations. So like background animations in the game menus are now locked behind purchasable DLC. Behind a paywall.
Who thought that was a good idea? It does make you wonder how certain decisions like get passed. Like, it's fair enough someone comes out with a silly idea, but that probably got passed around a whole load of people at a table and they all went, perfect, love it, great.
Yeah.
Like, how did...
And especially now, because we're obviously we spoke about it last week actually on the last podcast, that Sonic is in an upward spiral at the moment with the films and stuff, and obviously big kind of people involved with that.
Kind of makes you wonder why. Like,
they're obviously not short of money.
Or people making decisions.
I mean, we're looking at maybe about £5 per pack here, potentially.
Yeah.
But you'd think like the deluxe edition would just have like everything.
Everything.
Like,
I think
you
that's
just
the
have
thing
it all,
for me,
but then to like pay extra for some crazy menu thing, like, why?
Or even if they had like different packages, so it could be like the standard, the deluxe, and the ultra.
Yeah.
Or something.
Just make
The
it simple.
ultra just has everything. Deluxe is like doesn't have the animation pack or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people are like, why would I want that in a menu?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But some people who are like yourself, like a huge Sonic fan, want everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I guess the thing is you don't know how much everything's going to be at the moment.
Exactly. The prices have only been revealed for the standard edition and then for the deluxe edition.
But if the deluxe doesn't include everything, then it's like, well, I could be spending...
Yeah.
It might only be £5 more or whatever, but it could be 20, 30, 50. Like, I guess you just don't know.
Exactly. We don't know at this moment in time, so we will find out before June, I'm sure.
But I guess if there is a little bit of controversy around that at the moment, that could possibly change.
Well, we have seen it. It's not unprecedented.
Especially with Sonic.
We all remember Sonic's original movie design, don't we?
Yes.
With those little like human teeth and the muscular legs.
Maybe it is deliberate just to get people talking so they know what people definitely will stand for and what people really don't want.
It could be that they might want to just see how far they can push it.
Yeah.
How much can we get out of people? How much
Yeah.
do people want this thing? Then there'd be like Saints by going, oh, now it's included with every standard edition.
We
or
hear
something.
you, yeah.
I mean,
I
think
there's pros and cons of doing things like that.
Yeah.
That no publicity is bad publicity, but sometimes it kind of
I
taints.
beg to differ in this case. I think this is bad. This is just bad publicity.
Yeah, but
now.
that's what I mean. It kind of taints it, and some people are like, you know what? Like, you know, there's a lot of games. Like, we won't dive into it. There's a lot of games with microtransactions. People don't particularly want to be playing them because of the microtransactions and the stigma around it and stuff.
Yeah.
That if people have that kind of same outlook on this,
As long as it doesn't taint the actual
negative
game,
thing.
then I think it'll be fine. It's when it starts interfering with people's ability to play the game as they want to play it, that's when people get mad, I think. Yeah.
Like, personally, I'm not bothered about additional animations on the menu
No.
screen. That's not what I'm buying a game for. If it turns out I can't play certain modes because of that.
Oh, you can't play Knuckles.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that would wind me up.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's one series that's returning. And another one that is returning, Tales from the Borderlands is coming back.
Oh.
So, have you played Tales from the Borderlands or any Borderlands?
We played some Borderlands.
We have played some, usually at conventions.
Talking of conventions, yes.
Yeah, I
Where
think
were
that's
we?
the
PGX,
only...
maybe?
Yeah, I can't remember which. Pre-COVID times.
Yeah,
there was huge Borderlands stuff.
I think we saw Borderlands 3 at Gamescom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was some there. So I think that's the only
I
time
think
I've ever
that's
played
when
it.
we played it then at Gamescom. And that was probably my introduction to it, of thinking, this is fun. I enjoyed myself playing it. But it was the same time we bought a house and we had zero time to basically
there was a period where we didn't play games because we didn't even have the TV or anything available.
Yeah, because we basically completely gutted and renovated the house. That time was non-existent then.
Yeah, that whole section of gaming just passed us by.
Yeah,
I think.
So anyway,
explain, please.
It's actually probably good for the time limited. So the Tales from the Borderlands series, I suppose we're going to have to call it now, actually follows on from the other like Telltale games where they're it's narrative driven.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an interactive series, I suppose. So like a narrative plays out, you make your choices and people remember those sorts of choices and then it affects the story later on. They're famous for like the Batman series, The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Tales from the Borderlands was a real oddity because it was the first time that they were taking like a gaming property that was then being reworked into another gaming, into another game. But yeah, of course, with what happened to that developer, so Telltale's just gone, and now this is being launched, developed, everything handled by Gearbox, who are responsible for the Borderlands series. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of, it's a PSA, this is coming out now. So the first one was fantastic. It was really funny. It's really interesting. The characters, we're potentially seeing new characters with this new one as well, rather than it being a continuation of the last one. So I think it's just going to be a good time for returning Borderlands fans, basically. And
what's the sort of duration of those types of games? If they're more story driven, are they like?
Are they really long? Or?
Yeah, like how?
So they vary depending on which. I mean, something like The Walking Dead. There's 3 seasons of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But typically, each episode is usually between like an hour and 2 hours long. So I believe the first series, as it's going to turn out to be, the first series of Tales from the Borderlands was I think about 6 to 7 hours long.
Okay.
And they used to come out. I don't know how this one's going to work because it's been the way that Randy Pitchford, the CEO at Gearbox, has talked about them. Talked about this one is that it will be a game rather than a series. So it sounds like it will all come as one thing because in the past they were sort of almost famous for episodic release.
Yeah.
So you would get like The Walking Dead episode 1, you know, and you'd be able to play that, and then it's like, oh my god, when's episode 2 coming out? But this sounds like it's going to be very much like everything at once.
Nice, that's what we like.
And how much? What is there any type of gameplay, or is it just kind of selection?
So the gameplay, I guess it varies depending on the property that they're using. Tales from the Borderlands was very much like decision based. Every now and again, you might have to like aim a gun.
Right.
You know, it's not
your
really
choice to shoot it type of thing.
Yeah,
maybe?
And it's not like if you don't shoot, you fail.
Yeah.
It's like you don't shoot, the story acknowledges that you don't shoot and you move on.
Yeah.
And it's like that character or vehicle, whatever.
It's like moral dilemmas
unshot.
it gives you.
Yeah, basically.
I like games like that.
And it's really good for replayability as well because then you
I was going
can
to say there
play
must be so many options and endings and whatnot.
A good narrative game like this has multiple branching paths that means you can play.
Yeah.
It's very similar to like the stuff that Quantic Dream put out with stuff like Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
Those sorts of games.
Yes.
So really, you know, there's lots of different paths that you can take. So fingers crossed.
And it's probably quite a good thing for people who aren't proper gamers as well. Does that make sense? Like people who enjoy gaming but might not have the time to spend and grind away at a game more. That it's more kind of
like not
I think
passive.
I know what you mean.
I know what you're trying to say.
It's not,
yeah.
I wouldn't define anyone as like a proper game because it means something different.
No, but I mean, like for me myself, like we don't have much time to play games at the moment. Like with just things going on in our life, that if it's something which I don't have to really dive deep into and put 100 hours into it, like
remember the
Assassin's
combat
Creed
or
something that. Okay, this is only 8 to 10 hours, and I could play an hour an evening, and I can use it more like I'm watching a series on Netflix rather than having to spend 100 hours to try to complete a game before it's spoiled for me or something. That it's more for a backseat gamer. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's.
I think it is. I mean, like, I'd consider myself someone who plays a lot of games, obviously, but. I will enjoy this as much as but it's probably perhaps more accessible to people who have limited time. I suppose is what we're getting at.
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
You could consume it like a TV show, where people might sit down and watch an episode of their favorite TV show while they eat, or every evening they might watch. And that's
what I was trying to mean, like with the gameplay aspect. If it's more just choice driven, then it's you can play it with a different kind of mindset, that you're not like sitting down, headphones on, like ready to smash a few hours of gaming out.
It's funny because like you get some games which are like your Twitch reaction sort of games where you need to be like really on it, and they'll leave you with like sweaty palms and sort of shaking and stuff. These sort of Telltale games will leave you in the same sort of way, but because of an emotional thing, which is I think is really clever, is really good, because they have that sort of impact. You typically spend more time with the characters, and they have more exposition. You really get to know them, and so when something big happens, it is like if you're watching your favorite TV show and your favorite character dies or whatever. It's stuff like that, which I think that's the appeal of these games.
I think that's one of the things with the Black Mirror episode. It went quite big on
Bandersnatch.
Yeah, the Bandersnatch one, which everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is like this new revolution of TV." And then people who are obviously from the gaming kind of world is like, "Well, no, this has been around for a very long time. This story-driven type."
It's just come from the other direction. I
mean, Charlie Brooker would have. I mean, he's a huge gamer. So it's like...
But it's in a way, that was quite a good thing, because it was an introduction to people who might not have experienced that. And I can't remember where I was the other day, but I even overheard people talking about it, even though it's been out for a few years now, the Bandersnatch one, that it kind of gives people the aspect of your decisions make consequences within something, but you can now do that.
I guess it's like an entry into playing games. If you've never really been into games and you don't know the direct dexterity to just jump in and play Horizon, it could be that step from watching Black Mirror going, that was fun, what's the next step to take me into a game where you don't need that coordination?
Walking Dead or something can then play the Telltale Walking Dead series to get more out of it. And obviously that's kind of what they're sort of designed to do as well, because Walking Dead is obviously huge. I don't know how many series they've got now. It's been around for such a long time, franchising off into different avenues, that it's another way to maybe pull people in to the gaming world and stuff as well.
Definitely. And because once you're there, it's like, oh, I really enjoyed the Walking Dead one, and oh, they made a Batman one, and, those sorts of things. And then you go, from Batman, they do Arkham Asylum, and then you can have a really good game. And speaking of moving on, we've all seen a film. We watched a film, not together, but
we didn't know.
But Turning Red, you've now seen.
Disney Plus was out maybe a couple of weeks ago now.
Yeah,
it's the new Disney Plus Pixar animation film, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
I bloody loved it. I think it's one of my favourite animations.
Was it bloody brilliant?
It was bloody brilliant.
I mean, do we want to be using that word about the context of?
Oh, maybe not. It was wonderful.
Is that low-hanging fruit again?
Moving on. Loved it. Loved the pandas. It finished, and I wanted to just watch it again.
Oh, that's very good.
I'm not really sure why. There wasn't anything that was like, oh, that bit was amazing, aside from the pandas. But I just really enjoyed it. I'm not normally an animated film kind of person. I think the last animated thing I watched was Arcane, which was a completely different animation, and that was amazing. I'm not really a Disney animation person, I don't think, but this one, I just loved it.
I think
I don't know why.
Let's look at this in terms of like visuals first, and then we'll get into the sort of the nitty gritty of it. Really, I think there's a scene in this film in Turning Red where Pixar are doing the big old flex, and they're like, "Look what we can do."
I was going to say, which scene is that? Because one scene I was going to bring up, which really stood out to me.
Cooking.
The cooking scene.
So when the dad slow motion bow being created, I swear to God, if I put that in front of people, just out of context, other people, you would look at that and think you're watching MasterChef.
It was that bit to me. I was like, okay, now we're talking.
That's what Pixar are doing there. They're going, look what we can do. It looked real. It looked so good.
Yeah.
It looked good enough to eat.
That's what they wanted.
How funny that's the scene which I was literally going to bring up and be like something which really stood out. I don't know why it stood out, but that was a real pinnacle bit of the film. Even though it's got nothing to do with the film, it was just
that's what I mean. That's
the
why
company
it's the
behind it who just put that in there. It's only like 30 seconds, a minute maybe, of just very sexy slow-mo shots in animation, which we never see.
Yeah. So for me, I seeing that was it's incredible. But actually, the story of the young girl, I can't actually remember her name. May. Thank you. Yeah, and it's just really good to see these sorts of stories being told, and I think it's just wonderful. So it's an analogy for puberty, growing up.
Coming of age
sort of thing.
Body changing, parents,
but like family dynamics changing, all of that, but just done in a nice, different way.
It's done in a very clever way. There's lots of layers to the actual film. There's kind of a few different kind of connotations of what they all mean, and the way it's basically been wrapped together and packaged as a Disney film.
Yeah.
Can speak to, I guess, a lot of people about a lot of different aspects and lots of different views, and you kind of see both sides of it as well, because obviously the way that the mum is portrayed within the film compared to the daughter, and then
she wants to get her own independence, finding out who she is, and her parents are trying to advise where they can and be a bit overprotective, like. It's what we all go through growing up. You find that boundary and that balance. Yeah.
And pushing those boundaries.
Exactly. With a panda. I mean...
with a giant red panda. So
I just love how big they made the mum's panda.
Yeah, okay. So we won't go into too many spoilers today. But and then you've also seen something else this week.
Something the opposite end of the spectrum. We've also watched the new film on Netflix called Metal Lords. Yeah. Now, we should probably point out that we love metal.
Yeah, we do.
Metal is like our genre of music.
Yes.
That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch it. It was, for me, not the best film I've seen, but it was a good Friday night popcorn film.
Exactly.
It was a film which you could just put on and enjoy yourself, have a bit of fun, have the occasional laugh.
There were some actually laugh out loud
bits. Listen to some, good music, and it ended.
Yes.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a repeatable film. I wouldn't go back and watch it again, but a lot of the content which we get nowadays, there's so many films, so many TV shows, replayability of TV shows and films now is probably a lot less than what it was years and years ago.
Yes.
I feel like that fits into that bracket perfectly, as in I watched it, I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I would tell people to watch it with that outlook of...
Yeah, if you want a nice popcorn film...
Get a bag of popcorn and enjoy it.
Like, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah. I don't know, it was funny.
I think the main thing that, maybe not a disappointment, but something that I noticed was, we love metal music. And there's a point in there where one of them gives someone this homework of go study all these bands and all this music. And I thought, this is going to be an epic soundtrack to this film. And
that could have been like a really beautiful montage of like history of metal from old to
because I loved a lot of those songs on the list. So I was like, oh good, this is going to be like one of those films where like the soundtrack is amazing. And it didn't come to anything. And they used the space, I think they only licensed one song. And that was kind of the theme.
It got... again, we're not going to go into like spoilers of it, but there's a song which is basically repeated throughout the whole film.
And I wanted more. I just wanted to delve into different songs. And
I know that's a huge licensing
issue. Maybe 2 or 3 songs would have been good. Not just the one.
It was good that they introduced you to lots of bands by...
They named them.
The room that... it's like the teenager's room with posters everywhere, so you kind of had close-ups on all of the bands and logos and stuff. I assume some of them are probably made up.
Oh, we should test
because there was one which they touch upon, and I needed to look it up.
Well, I think it's American. And I didn't know most of them, but I do wonder whether some of them are a bit more localized.
I don't know if they were put in there just for like the comedy or the story.
There was a couple
aspect.
I didn't know, so it could be those ones that you're thinking of. Maybe that was in there.
again, without spoiling it, there's a few kind of cameos from metal people. Which
R2D2,
yes, T3PO,
which did take me by surprise a little bit.
So I don't think we've actually touched on what this film is.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So what is the premise of?
Basically, it's a coming of age film. Again, it's a teenage, I don't know, kind of 16, 17-year-old.
Just trying to fit in, find your place in the world, and battle of the bands.
Basically, it's a film about battle of the bands. There's nerdy kid, metal kid,
and another kid
want to make a band, and it's just that the kind of the fitting in, because obviously looking kind of metal, you don't necessarily fit in with,
or you feel like you need to be a certain way. It's not a complex story. But it is a good Friday night film.
It's a very relatable story for some of us.
Yes. Yeah, us three can probably relate to it quite a lot. But
I don't know if you enjoy it if you're not really into metal.
Yeah.
Are we talking School of Rock? Is it similar to School of Rock?
Kind of. There's a lot of School of Rock kind of... That to me, I feel like is slightly younger, being Jack Black and...
They were young kids as well.
Yeah, being young kids is basically...
School of Rock's quite epic, though. I don't think it's not quite on the same level. School of Rock is still...
No, it's not on the same level, but
very good soundtrack.
Very good soundtrack.
Yeah,
they had no licensing issues.
But I assume that, I don't know, that the actors, they're slightly unknown.
Yeah, it's maybe more Pick of Destiny, perhaps, than Pick of Destiny budget, should I say.
Yeah, but then, Tenacious D is obviously... huge compared to this. I don't know.
It did seem like these kids could actually play their instruments, though. I don't actually know if that's true. So I wonder if that's why they chose them, is because they are actually really good at what they do. And so if you've got like a famous or someone known, it's like, well, they're probably going to have to get like an actor that...
You want like close-ups on other people's hands.
Exactly, but I don't know if it's true, but I like to think that they are the actual ones playing.
They did seem like they could play, and there is when the band gets together and plays, you're like, okay, this is cool now.
This is cool. This is
different.
I do want
slightly different angle than where I thought it was going to go. But I don't want to put too many spoilers in it, even though you can't really spoil a film. Like this. There was some kind of laugh out loud moments as well.
There were.
Which, if you do watch it, I want to know if you pick up on the same...
I'll watch it.
The same funny bit. If you were to rate the film, what would you kind of give it?
Oh, I don't know. Well, it's tricky. As a popcorn film, yeah, it's probably... Oh, I don't know. That's hard to rate.
Yeah.
Like a 6?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 is, I think, fair. 6
is like a valid...
We're not like, that's bad, that's 6 is above
it
average.
Was good. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a good Friday night. I probably won't watch it again.
There was a few things which I...
Never, ever again.
I kind of wish they did differently. Yeah. I think they kind of copped out a little bit on a few bits and a few scenes, and having a few more kind of soundtracks would have made it better. But overall, it's worth a watch. Nothing spectacular, but it was fun.
Yes.
Fantastic. And that's available on...
Netflix.
Cool. There you go. And I think that actually brings us towards the end of the show today.
I was going to say, we're like flying on. I don't know. How long have we been recording for?
I don't know.
I don't know. We're having a great time.
Well, before we go, of course, we've got trivia time.
Oh, yay! Trivia.
So last week, you got on the scoreboard.
I actually got a point.
For the first time. So for the series, we're currently, James, you're
2-1.
2, and Hollie, you have 1.
Yes.
And of course, I like to try and keep things relevant to what we've talked about.
Oh, no.
So today's question is...
We should probably point out, if you've not listened to Popcorn on Joysticks before, trivia time is...
The most
it's
time.
my attempt to torture James and Hollie through the medium of trivia that they probably will not know.
A question.
And we usually don't know it.
And we usually get it wrong.
And at the end of the season, at the end of the series and end of the year, then we'll tally it all up and the winner will get a prize. That prize is yet to be decided yet.
Is it decided by you?
It will be decided by me.
Oh, no. We're not even sure we want this prize.
Or it could be decided by you, so maybe comment and let us know what the prize should be for trivia time. Could be anything. I'll source it.
Oh, no.
Trust me, I will get it. So trivia time for this week. Okay. The question is, which of these games did Amy Hennig not work on?
Okay.
A, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. B. Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City for Super Nintendo. C. Uncharted 3. Or D. Crash Bandicoot 2.
Now, you've thrown in...
Can I hear them again, please?
Of course you can. So which of these games did Amy Hennig not work on? As A. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. B. Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City for Super Nintendo. C. Uncharted 3. Or D. Crash Bandicoot 2.
So you've thrown one in there, which is a bit of a red flag.
There is one in there that is slightly different to the others,
but I don't know if that's a ploy to make me fall for it. Because I don't know if you've picked up...
Yeah.
I assume you've picked up on the same one.
I assume so.
This is not a collaboration between you two. It is very much a competition.
Okay.
Kill or be killed.
I don't know whether I should just go for it.
So, James, as you're in the lead, we'll take your answer first.
Crap.
A, B, C, or D.
See, I'm torn between two. I don't know. Should I say it out loud? Because I don't know.
I've got one which I'm going for, and I have no idea if it's right, but I've got mine in my head.
He's got
See, I'm torn because we obviously know that she's worked on Naughty Dog games. You brought up earlier about Uncharted. So why would you bring up Uncharted 3? That's the kind of the red flag for me. The others could be any of them. So that's what I'm thinking. Is that too obvious?
You have a 1 in 4 chance.
I know.
We're going to press you for an answer here.
Okay, is that... Or the other one I was thinking it possibly could be is B.
You mean Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City?
Chaos in the Windy City. I'm going to go with C.
You're going for C,
I was
Uncharted 3.
going to go C.
You're going to go C as well?
That's what I was thinking, but now you're going with that. I don't know if I should.
It's entirely up to you.
There's a lot riding on it.
I know.
A prize that we don't know what it is.
That pack of polos. I'm going to go C because that's what came into my mind.
You're both going for C.
Okay.
Amy Hennig did work on Uncharted 3. The one that she
fell for your trick.
didn't work on
B
is Crash Bandicoot 2.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So we would have got it wrong anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first game that she shipped was Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City, and she's probably most famous for her work on the Uncharted series and Legacy of Kain.
Well,
that's what made me think, well, maybe...
Why would you bring the third... Like,
that's exactly where I went.
First two? Or like...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so she did the first two, and then something happened with 3.
Can we, like, next podcast...
Can you give us the answers?
Can we, like, press start, go into, like... settings and bring down the difficulty to like beginner level.
We'll see what we can do. It all depends. It's all based around the meta, right? It's whatever's happening that week.
Exactly.
So
That's good. You're teaching us things.
Exactly. This is an educational space.
Exactly.
Which is Chicago. It's not like
That's what they tell you.
That's what they tell you. Yeah, it's actually just a place full of tornadoes. But anyway, with that, the scores remain the same. So we're going into next week with
still 2-1.
2-1. So if you end the year 2-1, I would not be happy with either of you.
It means your questions are too difficult.
Yeah.
But
at least it's not 0-0.
I like slip you a fiver. I'm like...
But that brings us to the end of our podcast. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Remember to like and subscribe.
But before that,
here we go.
We've also released a new video on the channel, which Theo has basically completed himself. Doesn't have me and Hollie in it. It's a very, very good video. And if you're into Horizon, you should go check it out because there is something in it which we've obviously done a video on, or Theo's done a video on.
A couple of Easter eggs.
Which I didn't even know was in it.
So there you go.
If you're playing Horizon Forbidden West and you feel like you want something extra, go check it out.
Go check it out, boy.
That's really good.
And on that
note, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.